Which one would you use on a track? Well, if you've got both, you would use both. Hi, my name's Hugh and welcome back to my home studio. We've unboxed them and today we're going to box these classic 70s synthesizers. The Mini Moog was released in 1970 and the ARP 2600 was released in 1971. And while they're both 3 oscillator mono synths, they seem to have just completely different voices. Some similar applications and just some applications that don't even belong in the same room. Neither of these instruments are more or less musical than the other. The Mini Moog, for example, seemed to have been favoured by Chick Corea, while the ARP seemed to have been favoured by Herbie Hancock. Both have their strengths and both have just really amazing characters. For example, the Mini Moog seems to have this really warm squishiness to it. I relate it to like an organic sound. It sounds like a tree in the ground. As crazy as that sounds. Maybe it's like synesthesia kicking in or something. But to me, there's something really earthy about this. While the 2600 to me just seems to have this really modern and dense, thick, almost like the tiling on the outside of a spaceship. That's what the sound feels like to me. Again, weird analogy, I know, but see what you think. If you're liking these videos, don't forget to hit like and subscribe right now and then head straight over to the Muso's Corner YouTube channel where there are heaps more videos for your entertainment. Some really obvious differences straight away. The Mini Moog is an all-in-one package that you can just sling under your arm and rock up to your gig or your session ready to go, plug in and play, while the ARP is more of a modular rig, and that's actually why it was created. It was created as a modular synthesizer with a normal path. The ARP, you can patch between all these different in and out points on the synth, where the Mini Moog is a bit limited in that sense. The ARP has a built-in spring reverb. The Mini Moog has no reverb, but it has really clear pitch and modulation wheels for while you're playing, just being able to dial in those tone colors and do those bends and glisses. The ARP was designed to be more stable than the Moog oscillators. However, the Moog oscillation, the way it pushes and pulls, just gives you this living, breathing machine element to the instrument. The same way as a string instrument, from a violin to a guitar and even a piano, the tuning just drifts sometimes, and that's when you can get some really magical nuances and you get the voice of the player. So the player's ear really comes into effect at that point, in terms of if the player hears something slightly flat or slightly sharp, they're going to play into that. As far as layout goes on the boards, the Mini Moog does have these beautiful large dials and a really simple format, from oscillators through to filtering and amplification. So it just makes it really quick to just start dialing and shaping a tone on the fly. The 2600 does seem more complex in the sense of what you can actually do to the oscillators and how you can patch them between the oscillators. While this gives you heaps and heaps of options, it might make it a little bit hard to just start carving out your sound in the middle of a solo or something like that. The Mini Moog is just a mono output, same way as a saxophone or a violin is just a mono instrument. It's just a big solid sound, while the ARP has the stereo output, and that way you can do some panning and stereo effects, whether you're patching to switch from side to side or switching the reverb from side to side or modulating one side and not the other. there are heaps of options there. I find the noise on the ARP, like the white noise, really bright, whereas find the Mini Moog noise just warmer, not quite as sizzling, and maybe not quite even as harsh. Again, it just has that really earthy tone to it. Which one sounds better? Well, if you've got either of them, you're winning straight away. If you've got both of them, you've won. Which one would you use on a track? Well, if you've got both, you would use both. You would patch one into the other and dial in a Super 6 oscillator fat sound. Otherwise, use the one you've got. It's going to sound great. The Mini Moog has this master tune dial, which is really useful. If you're in like a jamming situation, you're playing with others or you're playing to a track, and your instrument just starts to drift a little bit over the course of the session, that master tune will just help you pull it back into line ever so slightly. Whereas the 2600 doesn't have that, you've then got to retune all of the oscillators individually. However, the 2600 oscillators are designed to be more stable, but they'll still move a little bit. I do find the filter and the amp section on the Mini Moog really easy to navigate. And in fact, that's what I would say one of the strengths of the Mini Moog is, that it's just really easy to navigate. If you were to start and end your career on this synthesizer, you would just be so deep on this thing. Even though the functions seem simple, you can get so much out of them. On the Mini Moog, I find that the functions are really intuitive and they just seem to do what they say. Like your filter cutoff, anything that's going through here, if your filter section is on, it just sweeps the filter cutoff. It's absolutely perfect. I find the 2600 a little bit more of an agent of chaos, where you can just do really wild things, and especially when you're patching and you're not really sure where things are going. Again, you'll find happy mistakes and you'll end up in these places that you'll never get back to in terms of searching for the new sound. I do find it a little bit harder to navigate in that sense, to really get it to perform and function exactly how I want it to. But if I want some inspirato to go somewhere and go on a journey with the instrument where the interface just sort of directs me along, 2600 every day. $2,600 has some speakers built into it, so you could sit it on your lap in the bedroom and really annoy your partner. As far as celibacy goes, I think that both synths probably have equal contribution to your situation. I think the 2600 does have a tighter low end, it's just really sturdy all the way down, where I find the Mini Moog's low end like a little bit woollier, And that's really nice too when you just get this, more like a Hofner bass or something like that, where you've just got a classic donkey bass tone. As far as aesthetic goes, again, that's another personal thing. All of this is personal. Synthesizers and instruments are about you as the player, so it's a very personal take on which one you like more, or which situation you might use one instrument. But the Mini Moog has this beautiful earthy timber paneling. It's almost got like a mid-century modern vibe to it, I would say. I love the switches and different colors to help you navigate fast what you're doing, and also the different size dials, which just helps straight away. Again, just when you look at it, makes it really quick to help your navigation of the interface, where the 2600 is very, very futuristic. And I find the sliders absolutely beautiful, and a really, again, great layout. However, I do find that without the differentiation in the sliders, you lose some of that. Oh, there's that big filter dial, or there's that big oscillator dial, or there's the red switch to turn the noise on, or something like that. Stuff like that might help, and maybe you can just replace the colored plastic caps on the 2600 to help with that interfacing. But I do think, like, if your instruments have lots of knobs and dials, guys, you've got to think about how you interface with them. The same way as a guitar, you might prefer a maple or an ebony fretboard. Just the coloring of the fretboard might affect your playing differently. So I do think that the dials affect how you interact with an instrument. A larger dial, for example, makes it easier to get more finite increments. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this look at these two synthesizers, and if you want any more information about them, head over to the Muso's Corner website. That's www.musoscorner.com.au. Otherwise, I'll link you in the comments below. Which one is the winner? Well, I'll let you describe that, but at the end of the day, if you've got both, you've won. I'm Hugh Jones. Happy music making.